Welcome to The Fight with Teddy Atlas, presented by Dynamic Striking. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by the Boxing Hall of Famer, trainer of 18 world champions, the great Teddy Atlas, and today's special guests. You may know him as the Problem Child, the 5-0 prospect with 4 knockouts. I like to call him the American Dream. He's Jake Paul.
Hey, Jake, thanks for coming on.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
No, appreciate you. And congratulations first on your success, obviously, in your boxing career and just your overall success in business that you've created. You've done a hell of a job with that. So you should be congratulated on that. And my first thing that I'll touch on is you've always been involved in the entertainment world, or drawn to it anyway. From what I understand, back in 2013, you started posting videos, and you started a YouTube channel, and your focus seemed to be on music, and you were successful right from the beginning. What drew you to that, to that in your life, to the entertainment world, obviously the music part of it, and then obviously it's led to what it's led to, but what was it that drove you?
Yeah, I think it's something you're born with, honestly. And for me, I guess came from boredom of like living in Ohio with nothing to do. And me and my brother, all we had was each other, and we would just love to make each other laugh. My dad is such a character. I always say my dad should have his own TV show because, he's super entertaining himself, always cracking jokes, always pulling pranks on people. And he just looks at life from a very different lens. And that kind of rubbed off onto me and my brother. And I've always been the class clown, just making jokes all the time in class and, not always paying attention, but trying to have the most amount of fun with every day. And it just, I guess, became part of who I am. And I'm just like a weird, quirky person in general. So that, the entertainment industry kind of is right up my alley because of all those things.
Well, you know how to be successful. I'd say sometimes, I'd say the greatest quality of certain fighters, for example, I could easily go into their speed, their finesse, their cerebralness, their footwork, all that stuff. But sometimes I just say, certain guys know how to win. Really. And I think that's a trait. I think that is a talent. That is an ability. You just know how to win. It seems so far in your life from the genesis of going into the entertainment to switching over to this entertainment business, which it is an entertainment business, boxing, that you know how to win. And again, that is an attribute that people have to learn. And some people learn it, some don't learn it. What do you credit to that? Because it's not an accident that you have that confidence, that you have that ability to win at what you put your mind to.
Yeah, again, I think it goes to the way I was raised, and both of my parents were extremely competitive. My mom was a state gymnast, and losing wasn't an option really in the family. And, if I lost in football or wrestling or whatever it is, my parents would reprimand me. And so it just, losing wasn't in the mindset, and it wasn't something that, I know how to do really. If someone ever beat me in football or wrestling, it's because they truly were just the better team or the better man. But yeah, that motivation and that toughness and that grit and finding a way to win in all aspects of your life, that can be carried over, not just in boxing, but in business, in whatever it is that you set your mind to. I think it's just innately a part of people's character. And like you said, you either have it or you don't. And I think it's something, again, like that. I was raised to be this way, and no matter what I want to do, if I wanted to start taking pottery lessons and become, a pottery creator, like I would find a way to be the best at that.
Well, um, you sure as heck knew how to be successful, because even when you started with the music, with the videos, if I'm correct, your first video that you released, I think it was called Every Day, Bro. It got over 70 million views in 1 month. I mean, that's a lot of people don't know that side to you, I don't think. They just know that all of a sudden one day they put on TV and here's this guy talking and getting in a ring and doing all this stuff and fighting. But you had a heck of a development and track record for finding ways to make things happen, to be successful, to do something.
Yeah, look, that's what a lot of people don't see, the hard work that goes into everything that I've built, even till this day. They think celebrities or YouTubers just wake up and have this like fun, crazy life and that they don't have to put in the work. But everything I do, I contribute to my work ethic, and it's a lot harder than it looks. Anyone who's done YouTube successfully knows that it's probably one of the hardest things in the world to do. And it's mentally taxing. And, people in the boxing world have criticized me like, oh, how come he's getting these paydays? Like he just came into this sport and overnight, like is taking money from fighters and blah, blah, blah. No, I was in a different type of gym. I was in the entertainment gym, working on building my brand, not my muscles. I was working on building my brand, but I was still worked every single day since the time I was 12, 13 years old, making videos, hustling, finding out ways to be creative, growing my business, getting my name out there, doing all sorts of stuff. And that's why it's carried over into boxing. So, people just think everything's an overnight success, but really it's tons of trials and failures and ups and downs. And there was moments where, I thought I would quit everything and just go back home and live in Ohio. And so this industry is very hard. Boxing is very hard. And I've really put in the work, and that's what a lot of people don't really see or understand necessarily.
Well, that's why I wanted to take the interview this direction first, before we got into the obvious, the boxing stuff, because the people, they just knew the brashness, the cockiness, and the stuff that has been front and center when you came into their lives. But there was a life before that. And I just wanted to put the proper focus to represent that, to show that there is another dimension to you. There is another face to you, but there is a background to you. You didn't just pop up, I mean, you came from somewhere. And so here's the $1 million question now. What the heck took you from all of that to decide one day that I'm going to go into the boxing arena and I'm going to fight?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's pretty crazy, but I was just sick of doing YouTube and sort of sick of the entertainment industry. And for the longest time, I thought it was what I was put on earth to do. But as time progressed, I realized that it really wasn't who I was. And when I got the opportunity to box another YouTuber, in 2018, I picked up the gloves and started training like a professional boxer the next day, got a professional boxing coach, and slowly fell in love with the sport little by little. And then when I won my first amateur fight, that was the best feeling and the most accomplished I've ever felt. And at that moment, I knew like, hey, this is something I really, really love. And it's something I'm good at. A lot of people, mistake my talent. And I have a natural gift for fighting, whether people want to believe that or not. It's the truth. And, my actions will back that up over the next couple of years. But knockout after knockout, I just kept on falling in love with the sport. And I realized everything I was, good at aligns with the sport of boxing, and it's just who I am, and it feels destined. And now I finally feel what I was put on this earth to do. And it's really crazy, but I love it. I love this shit so much. And I think people can see that, sense that, and the work is paying off. So
I want to say this. I want to, a lot of people in the business, a lot of the boxing lifers, whatever you want to call them, a lot of the people, they feel that you've turned boxing into a circus. They think that, they use that word, they think that you're doing something hurtful or disrespectful to it. And quite frankly, they get a little upset at me for not taking that sort of stance, because I said from the beginning, I stay consistent with it, that I never saw it that way, because I saw you respect the sport. I saw you go out there, to your point, what you just finished saying, that you went out there, you got a trainer, you put the work in, and you went to learn the fundamentals of the sport. And you have. You've learned the fundamentals. I mean, you're not Sugar Ray Leonard, but you've learned the basics. You showed me the respect for my sport that I've been in almost 50 years, and I think it's very important to respect the sport. Actually, I think it's important to respect anything that you're in, to understand what you don't know as well as what you want to know, and what it's going to take to know those things, and what what has to be done. So I actually look at it in a way where you have provided just an option to people, because you're not forcing anybody to watch your fights. I mean, you're not putting a gun, you're not doing something illegal, you're not putting a gun to the head. You've given them an option from the traditional, if you want to use that word, boxing, to watching something in a little different realm. It's still fighting, it's still dangerous, but it's different, obviously. And I think that in some ways that you've helped the sport. And again, a lot of the old timers are going to get crazy on me, but it's okay. I can handle it, because if I believe in something, I say it. You've helped the sport in a way kind of like the first Rocky movie did with Sylvester Stallone, where you've brought eyeballs to the sport that might not have been there. You've had a crossover effect on the sport to bring people from other places that weren't here, quite frankly, watching before. And how do you feel about just your place in the sport now, along the lines of what I just said, and just where you fit?
Yeah, look, I mean, first and foremost, I understand people's perspective about, it's a circus and this isn't boxing and all of that. But again, all I'm doing is putting in the work and trying to get better in the gym and fighting tougher opponents each time. And I respect this sport, more than anything. And I think anyone who puts on the 10-ounce gloves and, gets in that square circle should be respected, because you're risking your life at the end of the day. And that's why I take this very seriously. And all I've ever wanted to do was contribute to the sport, bring new eyeballs to the sport, help fighters get paid more. And boxing, saved my life. So I owe a ton to it. I would be in jail or probably dead somewhere if it weren't for boxing, because I was going down a really weird path in my early 20s that wasn't sustainable. And because of that, I owe everything to this sport. And that's why I'm so passionate about making boxing great again. I have the hat that says "Make Boxing Great Again," and I'll slowly earn more and more people's respect. But the things I'm doing, with my charity, Boxing Bullies, bringing in kids to the sport that may have never boxed before. You know, what I'm doing on the most valuable promotion side of things, where, you know, helping Amanda Serrano, one of the greatest fighters of all time, get the pay that she deserves and putting a bigger spotlight on her. You know, we're signing here shortly another MVP prospect who, you know, I think will end up being one of the pound for pound greats one day, and giving him a platform and, you know, putting him in the limelight. So I'm doing as much as I can. You know, it's been.
Who is that? Who is that? Jake, who is that person?
I can't say yet, but it's one of the biggest up and coming prospects in the sport for young kids. So super excited about that, but we're not announcing it yet. But that is soon to come. But with all that said, you know, people are always going to have an opinion, and people are always going to hate. And if they don't have an opinion on you, then you're doing something wrong. You either have to make people like you or hate you or fear you or whatever. If you mention someone's name and you just, no one cares, or that you don't feel a certain type of way, then they're just going to drift by and no one's really going to watch their fights or their career. And so coming in, I had to make a lot of noise. I had to be different. Otherwise, people wouldn't have cared about anything that I was doing. So it's all a strategic play, and people will see this story unfold over the next couple of years. And that's all I can do, is just work on me and focus on me, and whatever happens, happens.
Before I let Ken jump in there, and Ken's going to obviously go ask some questions, but I was listening to what you just said, and it's curious because I had something written down about exactly what you just said. It seems sometimes like you've been laughing all the way to the bank, in a way that, you know, people hate on you. There's people that love you too, but people hate on you, and it's almost like you have a real good understanding of how that can work if you know how to work it. And along the lines of, and I don't want people to go nuts when I mention this guy's name. Oh my God, you know, how can you mention his name? I'm not saying in comparison as a fighter, but in comparison to Muhammad Ali, you know, where Ali understood that when he filled an arena, when he did all his stuff to get that arena filled, that half the people were there because they freaking hated him and they wanted to see him get crushed. And half were there because they liked him, or they even loved him, and they wanted to see him win. But the one thing all the people had in common, they all bought a ticket. And it just seems to me, watching you, you know, from afar, from the bit that I've seen what you're doing, that you have a real grasp on that concept, on understanding that playbook. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, look, I've always been the villain, right? And there needs to be a heel, and I just fit and play the role perfectly, and I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I don't care necessarily about people's opinions, and it's exactly what you said. You know, if someone hates you, they're going to tune in to see you lose, but that also creates a lot of fans that love you. So, you know, that is the playbook, right? And if you look at the highest paid boxer of all time in Floyd Mayweather, he was very hated. Like, he doesn't have that crazy fan base. People were tuning in to see if his perfect record was going to fall. And, you know, that's sort of the how I am, you know, and I understand that a lot of people hate me. Good. You know, like, it's exactly what you said. Thanks for the pay-per-view purchase. Thanks for coming to the ticket. Even in Tampa, in my last fight, the crowd was yelling, F Jake Paul. You know, it's a sold-out arena. We sold it out right away. And the majority of the people there, I think, were rooting for Tyron Woodley. You know, so it is what it is. And for me, it's more fun. You know, I don't want to be the goody two-shoe. Hey guys, like, I respect my opponent. You know, I love everyone. Like, that's not who I am. And for me, it's not as fun. So Yeah. Someone's got.
You've made a cottage industry out of hate, in some ways, and not an evil hate. There's a difference in hates. There's degrees of hate, not an evil hate, but I don't want to say a manipulated hate, but maybe it is a manipulated hate, but a hate that has reason behind it, and the reason is that sometimes it can be profitable.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, people are definitely going to hate you when you're like a young kid who just says whatever he wants and does whatever he wants. And there's a lot of jealousy. I think that's where a lot of it stems from, is envy. And, people just think I'm this clown or circus performer or whatever it is. And when people make that comment like, oh, it's a circus, I say, well, you've gone to a circus, haven't you? And you enjoyed it, didn't you? You saw the elephants. You saw
and you bought a ticket to get in there.
Stilts. You paid for the ticket to the circus. Everyone's been to a circus, so people say that as a diss, and I take it as a compliment.
I would say this. I think you should change your name from the problem child to the American dream. And I would make your catchphrase, not make boxing great again. I would say, if you hate Jake Paul, you hate America, and you probably hate yourself. Because how can you hate someone who has created their own reality? What has Jake Paul done? He's fought 5 guys and knocked 4 of them out. He's just doing what he wants to do. What is to hate about that? I have 3 little kids. They've met so many different athletes. They've been very lucky. It's things that I couldn't have done as a child that my kids have the access to these guys, mostly through my relationship with Teddy. When I told them I was interviewing Jake Paul, you would think they'd rather talk to Jake Paul than Tom Brady and LeBron James. If they could have them over for dinner, they'd rather be like, let's talk to Jake Paul on FaceTime. So that's my first comment. There's not a question. I just want to say anyone who hates Jake Paul hates America, probably hates themselves, and hates the life that they're living like a prisoner.
Thank you, Ken. No, I agree. I really do agree. And, I hear that same story and narrative a lot, actually. And what's crazy about it is like my fan base is so broad, but there's that, 9 to 13-year-old fan base that is just getting introduced to boxing, and they love social media more than anything. And this is the new wave and the new era, and we're ushering a new generation into making boxing a very popular sport again. The study just came out. The Forbes released that boxing is now the most popular and fastest growing sport amongst millennials and Gen Z. So that's massive. That's,
Listen, people talk about the pioneers of different industries, and I know they're going to look back at this time in history and say the same thing about creators. There was the railroad men, gold miners, then we had the Bill Gates, Bezos, and I would argue that the creators, guys like yourself that were out there at the forefront, what do you care if anyone, like Teddy said, you're laughing all the way to the bank. You have it so nice you can give your opponent a Rolex watch before you beat them up. This is like everything that America was founded on, is like find an angle, figure it out, and be the best at something. And I tell my kids, hey, you want to make YouTube videos? We'll be the best at it. Learn about it. See what's up. Study. But you got to chase your dreams, because like you said earlier, if you're not doing something you love, what's the sense? You only get one go around at this. If you're not going to do something you're passionate about and love, you're going to be a prisoner to what? To a paycheck, to a corporation. I love what you're doing. I think it's awesome. What's next? Who are you fighting in August?
Yeah, we're still locking down opponents. There's a lot of names.
What are some of the names? Let's go.
Floyd Mayweather.
Please no. Please not Floyd.
De La Hoya, I like De La Hoya. Make that.
De La Hoya, Anderson Silva.
That's a good fight.
I like Silva. Silva, great.
Floyd, I guarantee you, Oscar De La Hoya won't make it to the ring. I don't want to be too critical of the guy, but he's got his own demons. Don't waste your time there. The other guys, Bisping, Anderson Silva, those are tests and those are fights that people will get up for.
Well, hell, let him finish saying the list. Go ahead, finish the list.
Sonny Williams out of Australia. So there's a lot of people on the hit list, and some other names that we're talking to, off the record, but just wanted to see who makes the most sense, right? I haven't.
It's off the record here. It's off the record here. You can say it.
Hey,
just some friends talking. Don't mind this guy behind me. He doesn't have a camera on.
Just trying to pick the biggest opponent, right? Everyone I've fought, and I'm not trying to be like arrogant, but everyone I've fought, I've carried the promotion. No one's matched my star. No one's matched my star power. So looking for that opponent that can match my star power. So that's really what we're trying to lock down, and might fight in Australia, maybe the States, maybe the UAE. So, exploring a bunch of different really cool options.
Guys, want to take a pause to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Athletic Greens. They've been with us from the beginning. I'm sounding like a broken record again, but I love this stuff. I take Athletic Greens every day. I'm running the Boston Marathon next Monday. I'm not going to be missing any days with Athletic Greens. It's got 75 whole food sourced ingredients. It's got vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics. You know the drill. It's got everything you need. This is like an insurance policy for your body's health and immunity. It's all you need to stay on top of your immunity game. For our listeners and our listeners only, go to athleticgreens.com/Atlas to claim the special offer of 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. Again, athleticgreens.com/Atlas. Take advantage of this offer. Athletic Greens, love it. Guys, episodes also brought to you by NordVPN. NordVPN, when I'm traveling, I often use unsecure hotel or airport Wi-Fi. They're unsecured, and it can be very dangerous to your files and your privacy. Public Wi-Fi like these are notorious for getting your information hacked, which can be an absolute nightmare. I've had my credit card information stolen multiple times. It's a pain in the neck. NordVPN is easy to use. It doesn't slow down your connection and makes sure all your data is private and protected. I even use it at home just to add an added layer of security and peace of mind. NordVPN is offering our listeners 73% off a 2-year plan plus 4 months for free. To get this special offer, go to nordvpn.com/Atlas and use the promo code Atlas at checkout. That's nordvpn.com/Atlas and use the code Atlas at checkout.
De La Hoya might be as disliked as you. That's got an interesting appeal to it.
I don't think Jake is disliked. I think that the haters are just loud. Yeah. Well, I think De La Hoya is really disliked.
Well, yeah, but there's haters out there,
yeah,
and
that's
as
true.
far as the hating world goes,
yeah,
it'll be interesting because there's a lot of them that are twisted against De La Hoya for different reasons.
Yeah.
But it would have an interesting dynamic. In some ways, Jake would be the hero, I think, to some people.
For sure.
Seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting fight, and it's a massive fight, and I think a good fight. So, Oscar, if you're watching this, man, get up off the couch and start training because we can make that happen.
There it is. Hey, what do you think the chances are that that Dana lets you take a 1-fight deal in the UFC I against anyone, not just Conor? I know you said you'd come over for one fight. What's the latest there? What's the offer?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's timing and proving myself more in the boxing side of things. And, pretty soon the UFC and the MMA side, it'll be undeniable for me to get into the octagon or, fight for one of these other organizations against a big name. So I think it's all a timing thing. And, Dana seems to be open to it, right? He said on my brother's podcast, he might let Logan fight in the UFC. And I think he's coming around to me and starting to see what I'm about and what I actually stand for. Obviously, he doesn't like, me harping on the fighter pay side of things and sort of harming his business and being a shareholder in Endeavor and pushing on the investment side of things. And, there's definitely a feud there. So we'll see what happens.
Both of you guys are pretty damn smart. I think we understand that, and know how to be successful. He did an unbelievable job building the brand of UFC, and obviously you've done an unbelievable job building your own brand.
That's the thing, is people think like, oh, he hates them, he hates the UFC. No, I love the UFC. I'm a fan of the UFC. The UFC is like the NFL, and yet to Dana's credit, he's done such a great job of making the sport, so much more relevant in just a short amount of time. But the issue for me is now that they are like the NFL and they're still only paying their fighters, 15% of the total revenue and not giving them long-term health care. That's where the issue comes in for me, because I care about fighters and I'm trying to change combat sports in general as a part of my legacy and a part of, contributing back to combat sports that saved my life. And so this all comes full circle. And I see how fighters are mistreated and how much money they have to spend on their own camps and how underpaid they are. So that's really where the battle stems from. And, now that the UFC is like the NFL, they have to soon and slowly start to pay their fighters more and treat their fighters better.
Jake, when you first started, you explained pretty well. And I think you're giving the audience now a chance to just see behind the curtain a little bit of really what and who Jake Paul really is. When you started, you had one goal. You talked about that. But goals change once somebody gets into something. How has that changed for you now? Because you couldn't have known what you know now back then, but that you were going to be successful quite to this level. You're a successful guy. You have that confidence. I get it. But this level of success you've had has been extraordinary. And now, how has your goals changed that you've had this success from what it was when you first started?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of my goals when I first started were materialistic, and they were based off of numbers and like tangible things and making certain amounts of money, or, being able to buy a Lamborghini or whatever it was. But now it's changed dramatically in a way where my goals are more so focused on, enjoying life and, eventually building a family, leaving a legacy behind, helping other people, raising other people up. Cause I accomplished my goals on the money side of things and everything I wanted to accomplish already in boxing. I could retire right now and be happy. So for me right now, it's more so about leaving an everlasting legacy and changing the world and inspiring the next generation and changing combat sports in general and doing things that no one's done before, making history. This is why, going into MMA even excites me. Like, how many people would tune in to watch that, and people think, this kid's crazy. He's going to go and do an MMA fight against Conor McGregor or whoever it is. Yeah, I am crazy. I want to do shit that no one's done before. And I believe in myself. And, that's really what's driving me and motivating me these days. And I've also learned to not set as many goals, because if you told me this is where I would be, 3 years ago or even 2 years ago, I wouldn't believe it. So sometimes a goal can even cap your potential. So it's interesting setting goals now, I guess, if that answers your question.
No, you did a great job answering it. And again, I think you've been doing a very good job just showing a different dimension to Jake Paul than the one that's, the very limited one, quite frankly, that some people have gotten. I want to ask you sort of a question in a way, if you agree with my opinion on something. I have an opinion of this phenomena, if you will, that you've created. And it's a phenomena. I mean, the way that you've gotten people to come over and follow you in the way that they have from where you started. And here's my theory on that you took what you developed in the, let's call it the YouTube setting, right? What you took that and you moved it out of the Matrix. You know, we all know the movie The Matrix. You unplugged it from the YouTube setting and you took it into the ring. One of the most daring things that anybody could do in life, get into a ring. And one of the most challenging and quite frankly, risky things that anyone could do in life. And you unplugged all these YouTubers that were plugged into, okay, I'm playing this game, I'm sitting home, I'm doing this, nothing bad, I'm just saying, to now living real life, to taking it into a different arena, into a boat arena, one of the boldest arenas there really is in the world, into the ring. And they all come with you. They are in the ring now. They're not just sitting behind the screen. They're in the ring with that guy, with Jake Paul. And it's like, if he could do it, we could do it. I could do it. I could be a fighter. You know, it doesn't mean you have to put gloves on, but I could fight a different kind of fight or a different kind of existence than I've been having so far in this realm. And for me, it hit me one day. I said, that's what he's done. He's unplugged the Matrix. He has done a phenomenal, just an extraordinary thing here, where he's taken all these people into a new world, a new realm, to explore new possibilities. What do you think of that theory?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. And I guess that's where my inspiration comes from, to motivate the next generation and the younger kids beneath me, to show them that just because they're in a certain lane or vertical, or life has handed them a certain circumstance, it doesn't mean that they can't just pivot completely one day and go into the hardest thing in the world and become great at it. It's all about work ethic and setting your mind to something. And, you know, if I wanted to say, oh, I'm going to go into the NBA and start dunking, it's not possible. So you have to be, you know, somewhat realistic about where your talent lies. But if you have a little sauce, you know, anything is possible if you set your mind to it and work hard. And that's, you know, what I want to be able to show people. And that's why I want to become world champion, is just to say, like, I started boxing at, you know, the age of 21 or 22 and became a world champion from being a Disney Channel actor. To me, you know, it's funny, and it can inspire a lot of people to go and chase their dreams. But definitely the hardest sport in the world, definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's not an easy path. And that's what I love about it, is how challenging this has all been and how much I've learned about myself through doing one of the hardest things in the world.
I'm going to refer to you as Neil from now on. Keanu Reeves, obviously yes, the character that Keanu Reeves played in The Matrix. Go ahead, Ken.
Guys, special shout out to today's sponsor, MyBookie. You got to love these guys. Check them out at mybookie.ag. There is a ton of fight action coming up. You got Tyson Fury in action against Dillian White, Spence Ugas, Canelo Bivol, and the big one, the biggest women's fight probably in history, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. You can get Katie Taylor plus money, plus 105, minus 125 on Amanda Serrano, promoted by the great Jake Paul and MVP Promotions. Go to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code ATLAS at checkout for a 50% credit on your first deposit, up to $1,000. So you deposit $2,000, they'll give you another $1,000 for free to play with. Mybookie.ag. Use the promo code ATLAS.
Go ahead, Ken.
I got a quick one. On top of the boxing and stuff, I think it gets underreported or underappreciated just what you've done in the promotional world. I was at your fight in Cleveland with Dustin Poirier. We came back and saw you in the locker room. I'm sure you don't remember me. I have a very forgettable face, but nevertheless, it was an incredible promotion. But now what you've done with Amanda Serrano and making this Katie Taylor fight is literally like giving a lesson to like all the boxing promoters. And credit to Eddie Hearn for working with you to get this done. But it's just awesome to see the fights being made. And talk to me about promotion and what you've thought of the entry into that sector versus the other things that you've done.
look, for me, it's natural, and it's a natural segue. And I'm naturally just good at marketing and promoting. And so for me, it's really fun. And especially working with someone like Amanda, who is a superstar, and all I have to do is shine the spotlight onto her. I see myself being a promoter for a long time to come, and I'm always going to be involved in this sport, even if I'm not fighting. But there's a new way of going about promotion, and it's social media, and everything now is revolving around social media and TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. And this is where our world is going, and everyone has a phone in their hands at all time. And if you have that direct access to this phone, the powers are endless. And so it's sort of in with the new and out with the old. And it was amazing for Eddie Hearn to recognize that and, finally get this fight done that's been lingering for years and years, and give these two women the biggest payday of their careers and of any women's boxing event ever. So it's historic. And
well, it is historic, and as you said, with the money, but it's historic also that it's the first time ever that the most famous arena, and definitely boxing stage, but the most famous arena in the world, MSG, Madison Square Garden, it's the first time that a woman fight has been the main event.
I'm looking forward to seeing this fight. And it's we were just talking about the UFC card they put on this weekend with the women, and how quickly they've evolved into being like very, very high level technicians. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Amanda and Katie Taylor get it on. That's as good as it's going to get in the women's.
A lot of people forget. You're right. A lot of people, I want to make sure I mention this, not that I have to promote that fight any more than the two fighters promoted themselves. That's enough. But Katie Taylor, I called her fights for NBC in the Olympics. She's a gold medalist. So you have two really accomplished, significant, fighters. Forget about, putting woman in front of it. You just have two significant fighters that are getting together at Madison Square Garden. And the way I break it down is that Serrano is just an offensive force. She is. She's an offensive force. She's unbelievable with her attitude, her mentality, her ability, her style. And Katie Taylor is a complete boxer, a very complete boxer. Not that they're not both really solid technically, but that's the way I see it. I'll be looking to see that fight. That's
April 30th, baby. Teddy, who do you think's going to win? I need to ask you.
Yeah, I think, obviously I always say what I believe the truth, no matter where I happen to be or who I happen to be talking to. I think Katie Taylor, unless she gets hurt in this fight, which is possible, obviously. I just talked about the kind of offensive fighter that Serrano is. But otherwise, I just think the solid all-around abilities and approach and experience of Katie Taylor will allow her to win a very, very close fight.
I like that take. I just think Amanda's forward pressure and relentlessness is gonna take her down in the later rounds and be too much for her. Katie's gonna be boxing on the outside, but the body work that Amanda has is gonna really slow her down. And it seems to me like Amanda has more of a mental edge just seeing them in person. So I'm excited. We're counting down the days here, but.
Well, obviously you guys know what you're getting into because you just said something that's funny. That would be part of my breakdown, my approach, if you will. If Amanda is going to win the fight, you have to go to the body. You have to go. You got to use the jab, too, to stabilize her on the outside and not allow her to dominate in the area she wants to dominate on the outside with the jab. So you have to, it probably starts with the jab, to be quite frank, even if you have to lower it a little bit to the chest. But then it comes down to, as you said, the pressure, the consistency of that pressure, and her ability to get in clean without taking too much, and the body, from the beginning to the end, the body work to wear it down. Because I always used to say, calling the fights on ESPN, that going to the body is like getting a CD in the bank. It pays interest. It pays interest with time. And that's what I would believe Serrano wants to do, is get paid interest late in a fight where the body work will slow down the outside work of Katie Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, and you saw when Katie Taylor fought Pursoon, it was a close fight and like a controversial win in some people's scorebooks. And she had trouble with that forward pressure, but Pursoon wasn't really going to the body like Amanda does. So I think that'll be the key difference here.
I agree. And Amanda has an unusual physical strength to her, And of course, this is the sweet science. Nobody understands that better than I do. But that physical strength matched with obviously good technique and, the science part of it, that is a big X factor. Ken, you have anything?
I do have one thing that it would be, I would be doing a disservice as a dad if I didn't let these 3 kids who just came home from school and have been standing outside of my office come right over here and say hello to you really quickly. Guys, hurry up. There he is. There he is. They're seeing an enigma. They're like,
what
whoa.
up, squad?
What do you say?
What's up?
What are y'all's names?
Introduce.
I'm Jack. I'm Cameron. I'm Luke.
Nice to meet you guys.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you, brother. They're super nervous. It's their moment to shine, and they froze up.
Yeah. You should have had them better prepared, Ken. I'm disappointed in you.
To be honest, I didn't even realize they'd be coming home from school. I was under the desk calling my wife's phone 300 times in a row, figuring if she answers it and sees that I'm texting her, tell her to come in. Tell them to come in. They're out there happy as can be. You made their day. Like I said, they'd rather you want to throw passes with Tom Brady or FaceTime with Jake Paul? Jake Paul. So
let's go.
Don't listen to those haters. I know what the reality is of what people think of you. And like I said, the only people that hate something about themselves that you represent.
And they hate America.
That's it.
Listen, Jake, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And I appreciate that we got a chance to really, as Ken touched on, as I touched on earlier, to show the people, what's behind the curtain, so to speak, and to show them a different side of Jake Paul, a side that they should see. It's important to see. So thank you, and thank you. With opportunities, with success comes opportunities, and it's just up to the person individually, and it kind of speaks to their character, quite frankly. But it's up to the people that have the success. What are they going to do with those opportunities? And for you to do the charity you're doing with the bullying program, that's the thing that really wanted me to have you on the show, to be quite frank. That's what motivated me the most. Your success, your ability to respect the sport and to learn the sport to the degree you have, all of that. But really it was that you made a choice with your success to do something for other people. And I think that's the greatest thing we can do in this life when we have success, is to be able to take that success and use it to help other people that need the help. So I just want to tell you, thank you for doing that, and continued success with that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, honestly, and I hope to chat again soon.
Hey, Jake, before we let you go, can I ask you one favor? When the interview comes out, if you could, I heard you have a lot of social media followers. If you wouldn't mind sharing the link to the interview,
I got you.
We'll be forever grateful. I'll try and get you some tickets to whatever fight we're attending next if you'll help us out.
I don't think he needs our help as much as we need his help, okay?
He knows.
I'll be sure to share it out, man, for sure.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate you, and seriously, thanks for your time. I know sometimes these things can be like you got a lot of responsibility, so we appreciate you taking time to talk with us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care, brother.
All right.
Thank you.
Peace.
All right, guys, want to give a shout out to a couple of the causes Teddy's involved with. First, the Dr. Atlas Foundation. They're doing great work on Staten Island. If you're looking for a philanthropic cause, please check out the Dr. Atlas Foundation. You can also check out Teddy's audiobook at audible.com. It's Atlas: From the Streets to the Ring, A Son's Struggle to Become a Man, by none other than the great Teddy Atlas. It's an excellent listen. If you haven't heard it before, please check it out. Also, Teddy's got a clothing collection at BoxRaw. Go to boxraw.com and check out the 36 collection by Teddy Atlas, 36 Minutes to Make Life Fair. Additionally, if you want to receive a special personalized message from Teddy, go to cameo.com and search Teddy Atlas. Teddy will record a motivational message, happy birthday, whatever you like. And as always, the show is presented by Dynamic Striking, where you can learn all the fundamentals of boxing from the great Teddy Atlas from the safety of your own living room. Learn the fundamentals without getting your head punched in. Dynamic Striking, Teddy Atlas. Check it out. Thanks for being with us.